Okay, quick note, video here. This is on the recent, I really do believe it's a false flag in Florida. That's not to say I'm 100% sure no one died. I'm not. It's not to say I'm 100% sure there wasn't any shootings. I'm not. But it is to say it's extremely suspicious, and it is to say that the most alarming part of this isn't what actually occurred. Even if people were indeed, even if you buy the full-on narrative that all these people were killed, it's that this is being used by the police, and other government entities to claim that now they should have the right to preemptively use social media posts, and this is at this point just being specifically directed at this point at Facebook. Likely it'll be widened pretty soon to Twitter. But so far no other social media platforms are planned for this mess. That cops should have the right to take people on the basis of social media posts who have posted stuff that can either be or is considered either violent towards others or towards themselves, and or another way might indicate mental illness, and therefore that these police can, at the very minimum, take them in for quote-unquote evaluation mental health, if not just outright jail. And guess what? Mental health evaluation, that could be someone being locked up for months. Okay? As they're quote-unquote observed furtherly. And if someone is used to having full autonomy and has a lot of responsibilities that they're being torn from, even if they were perfectly fine at the onset, before they were taken, they can completely break down and therefore be given a quote-unquote reason by that point to be kept there, indeed, indefinitely, until they're healed from what really is a matter of they've been taken prisoner for no real reason. That's why this is so alarming. That's why this is so insidious and sickening. The latest version of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM, which is the code book, at one point it was really just a matter of determining quote-unquote mental illnesses for the most part, although at one point one of the first mental illnesses was a slave that wanted to leave their captivity and end being a slave. So, and we're talking about in the United States. That was one of the first diagnoses. So, while I'm not saying that there isn't such a thing as either neurodivergent or altered states of consciousness, which are, in terms of altered states of consciousness, that's a euphemism in many instances for the most part of mental illness. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I am saying, though, that currently what is going to be used, in essence, by these law enforcement officials is going to be that code book, which has it that more than 90% of the population will be at one point or another diagnosable with at least one form of mental illness. And therefore, this is going to affect and allow the lockup in indefinite detention of upwards of 90% of the U.S. population. That is why this is so sick. This is why this is so severe. And this is why, some others have generalized that this gives them carte blanche to lock up whomever they want, whenever they want, because when you're talking about upwards of 90% of the population, even if you say they must be officially have some label, some diagnosis, it still means that they can lock up upwards of 90% of the U.S. population at large. And saying, so, well, this is their time that they're now experiencing a mental illness. That's how bad this is. That's how insidious this is. So, for anyone who is saying, well, people died. Last I heard, this wasn't a matter of even 20% of the entire population that was killed off of this or was locked up over this, let alone upwards of 90%, which could be if this is allowed to proceed like this. Freedom of speech, freedom of thought. Guess what? We're allowed to have sarcasm online. We should be allowed to have it no matter what social media platform we use. Social networking platform we use. We should be allowed to speak our minds as long as we're talking about speech. We're not talking about actually saying, okay, I have the right to go out and, hurt someone. We're saying, I have the right to post a photograph of a gun and say, I think that this person deserves it. Doesn't mean that, and again, it doesn't mean, again, that anyone is going to actually act on it. Doesn't mean that anyone is actually going to say, yeah, I want to, go after this person with a noose just because they post a photograph of a cartoon image with the name character and it being an actual person with a noose. That doesn't mean that they're actually going to do anything. That kind of thing should not be grounds for being locked up for years, decades. And yet, this is the track that's being gone down. And frankly, as easy as this is to stretch, those might be examples that are way too extreme. And the guns that we're talking about, in these images, they may very well be purple and pink, or green, as in the barrels. We need to be watchful. We need to be wary. And we need to fight and be aware that our freedoms are in jeopardy from this kind of ridiculous, sickening track. Shalom.